So moving swiftly on, we now want to create a carousel which is going to rotate and showcase some of the different logos of companies that we could have done some work for. So we could even add links to those logos so that as people click on those links, it will take them to the websites of the companies that we have actually built and designed their website of. So I would actually normally use a premium essential add-ons element here, but of course we are working with the free version of essential add-ons, so we're not going to be able to do that. But if we just create a new structure here, let's go ahead and select the horizontal. And then inside that, we just want to add a element. So let's hit that plus. We want to come down, if we just type in carousel here, we can see here that the logo carousel is what I would normally use, but of course, unless you guys already have that, then, you know, it's just going to be another expense that you might not want to pay yet. But if you do, then absolutely set that up because it is a great element that we can use, a great widget that we can use. But we should be able to get away with this using the media carousel as well. So let's drag the media carousel into our new container. Let's go ahead and make this container full width. So we're going to make that full width. Now, if we come back, in fact, let's just add some padding to this. So we come to padding, going to uncheck that. Let's add maybe 100 at the top. Let's go with 80 at the top. We'll go with 80 at the bottom. We'll just give 25 on the left and 25 on the right. So that is okay. Now what we can do is we can start adding these elements in. So let's select that carousel. So we've got here the skin here. So we've got carousel, slideshow and cover flow. So I mean, we can flick around them, but we are going to want to use the carousel. So let's now start adding the images to these different items. And if you open up the downloads, well, sorry, not if you open up, if you download the available media to download for this lesson, then you can upload the logos here. So you should have this folder which is available to download with all of the images in. We want to upload these logos just here, not this section. Not sure how that's crept in there. That will be at a later date. But in fact, we can drag that in as well. So let's just drag all of these in. And now we can start selecting these logos one by one. So first I'll do Netflix. And then the second one, let's do Mashable, insert, select. Third one, select the image, Adult Swim. Fourth one, image, and then fine. Select image 5, go with Tinder. And we'll just duplicate this one more time and add that 6th one in there as well, The Verge. So that's it. So now we can actually get to styling this. So of course, at the minute it's looking way too big. So let's come down the bottom here. We have slides per view. Let's change that to perhaps 6 or even 5. And then we've got slides to scroll. We just want to scroll 1 each time. Now we've got the height and width here. So let's just make that 100% there, 100% width. And then under the additional options, what we want to do, we want to turn off the arrows, the autoplay speed. Let's make this maybe 2 seconds, so 2000 milliseconds. Then we have down here the image size. We'll leave it as full, but the image fit, let's make this auto now, so it's a bit smaller. So that is now looking like that, and that is going to rotate every 2 seconds. Now we could even make that 1 second if we wanted it to keep flicking a bit faster. It's still got those arrows, those buttons, dots. Can't get my words out. Still got the dots at the bottom there, which I wasn't expecting. And it doesn't look like we can turn them. Oh yeah, we have just here. Pagination, none. So that is now just going to flick every second through all of the different brands or websites that we have done. Now, of course, if you wanted to add a link to each of those, we can add a link here to a custom URL so that the person or visitor browsing your site can click on that link, click on that logo and go and see that website. So you may want to give that a heading. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to turn that off. Let's now come up to the plus. And what we're looking for, we want to drag a heading in. So let's drag a heading into this. Now we can see at the minute that this container is currently running horizontally. So let's change that to vertical. So select that container along to layout. Let's now select the vertical. And now what we want to do, we want these to be at the start and we want the align items to be in the center. So it looks like that. So now we can actually start editing this heading. So let's just give this a heading. What do we call it? Trusted. Or we are trusted by innovative companies. Or even just trusted might even be better. Trusted by innovative companies. That's okay. Let's change that HTML tag to maybe a H3. Let's go ahead and start editing the style of that. So let's make that a text color of accent, so the dark purple. Let's change that typography to primary. And then in fact, do we have a secondary? We haven't set up a secondary yet, have we? So we could actually set up a secondary now. In fact, I'm not going to use that as a secondary. I'm actually just going to use text for this. I'm going to make this quite light. And the rem, I might just leave that as 1.1, 1.2. No, definitely not 2. 1.1. For some reason that's still showing as pixel. I'm not sure why, but that is definitely 1.1, so that's okay. So I'm happy with that. Let's just add a couple of dots at the end there. Dots, and that is looking okay. I'm happy with that. And now what we can do, we can get on to now adding another section down here. So what we could do, we could add a sort of a services section. So let's actually go ahead and do that now. Let's add this service section. Let's add a horizontal structure. Let's now drag in some image boxes. So let's hit the plus. Let's select the image box. Let's drag that into there. Now what we want to do is just style this a little bit. In fact, what I will do is I'm just going to duplicate this 3 times just so that we can see the size. So it's going to look like that. Now for the first one, I've also attached some icons here. So go ahead and select your icons. The icons are just here. Let's drag them in. So the first one we're going to use, let's say this one. Now we can give this a heading of WordPress development. We can give that and just so you know, actually guys, see these icons that I have here. You can download a lot of these. These ones are actually premium ones, which we paid for, but just websites like SVG Repo, you can download loads of different free icons. You can search for different packs where there's lots of different packs. Really great site, SVG Repo, so worth saving that as a bookmark. But let's look for some, what we're looking at, Hipsum. If you don't know what Hipsum is, it is hipster lorem ipsum. And if you don't know what lorem ipsum, that is just dummy text. So the Hipsum is just a hipster lorem ipsum. It's got all hipster words in, like the vegan and all kinds of paleo, waistcoat, roof party, semiotics, bra viral. It doesn't make much sense, but some of it is comical and it is just great for filler content. So I'm not going to bother with actual content here because it's not going to be relevant to you at all. So let's actually just delete that and paste in this. In fact, that's probably a little bit too long. Let's make that more. In fact, no, let's leave it like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that. Going to come here, paste that, and then paste that into this one as well. Now for the second heading here, let's go along and add maybe custom coding as a service that we offer. And this heading over here, let's say, I don't know, data analytics. Now let's actually go ahead and add these icons. So this one was custom coding. Let's go with this one. This one is data analytics. Let's select that and add data analytics, this one. And then maybe we could do one more. Let's just duplicate this now. Let's go with maybe website migration. We can select that. Say website migration. Again, I'm just completely making these up. So that is all looking okay. Now let's actually start styling what these look like. So let's actually select this image box here. And now we can start getting into the styling of it. So let's select style. Let's come along spacing. Do we want to have any less spacing? I think maybe a 5 is okay. The width % is okay. I'm happy with that. If we wanted any animations, again, I don't suggest doing too many animations, but we could, for example, here do a entrance animation, which we can do under advanced. But let's actually select this content now so we can start editing these different elements, the texts and fonts. So vertical alignment top is exactly what we want. So let's change the color to our accent. And then the typography, let's change to primary. And let's actually just reduce that down in size a bit. For some reason that doesn't want to play nice today. So whenever I press that up, it goes up by a whole rem. Now, of course, we want a decimal of a rem. Let's go with 1.4 maybe. 1.4 is okay. I'm happy with that. And Montserrat again. In fact, let's go ahead and save this now as a secondary heading. Secondary heading. So that we have that saved. What is wrong with my typing? Secondary heading, create. So now we have that saved as a secondary heading. Now the description, let's go ahead and change that to text. Typography to text. In fact, let's make that a little bit smaller. If we come down here, let's make that a 0.9 rem. Or maybe a 0.8. I'm happy with a 0.9. We'll leave that as a 400. That is okay. And as that is. So that is starting to look better. In fact, I am going to reduce the size of that image because it doesn't look as clear as I'd like. So let's actually set that as a percentage. Some reason that, there we go, it's coming down in size now. Let's go with maybe 16. What I am actually going to do, I'm actually going to make that heading a little bit smaller. So let's make that 1.3. I'm going to reset that because that didn't want to do what it was told. So we make that a 1.3, even a 1.2 I'm happy with. So that is looking okay now. Now we want to add some internal padding and then maybe add a box shadow around that just to finish it off. So let's now come along to advanced. Let's add some padding inside of this, maybe just 15 or 20. See what it looks like with 20. I'm happy with 20. In fact, we could make that 25. Now, if we come down here, we'll see a border. Let's select border. Let's add a box shadow. Let's come down here, make this a bit lighter. I don't like a box shadow that's too dark. And let's just maybe increase that spread by 1. In fact, add that blur a bit more as well. So we could, in fact, make this a little bit darker. That's okay. Something like that. Let's click off that and see what that looks like. That is looking okay. Let's just give that a bit of a border radius around the outsides. Let's come back down to border radius of maybe 5 just to soften those edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on that first one. I'm going to copy it and then just paste that into the other one. So not paste, but paste style, and then paste style, and then paste style. So those are the some of the services that we could provide. Now, of course, we could add a heading here as well, whereby we're just saying that these are some of the services that we offer. But I'm just going to leave that like that. That's okay for now. I'm happy with that. What else can we add to this? I think that is actually okay. So I think that's going to bring this lesson to an end. In the next lesson, we're going to just finish off this homepage with another couple of different sections that we're going to work with. In fact, let's just quickly edit this structure here. So we've got some order to this. So this is the carousel header. I'm just going to put in the logo. Never know how to spell carousel. Carousel. That's not how you spell it. I know that, but it's okay for now. And this is going to be our what would we call this? Our services section. So that's okay. So carousel. My goodness. And I consider myself a good speller. Apparently not. Carousel, like that, is okay. So that is basically this lesson coming to an end. Like I said, next lesson we'll finish off those last couple of sections.